So as Robbie and I are digging into what it's going to take for us to be happy in retirement, we found the following 9 things that we think are going to help us out a lot. Hopefully they'll help you out too. So stick around and find out what they are. Hi, I'm Rich.
And I'm Robbie, and you found our channel before it's too late.
Robbie and I are putting together our plan for when we're going to retire. So the tips that we're going to give in this video are things that we're going to try to do to help ourselves, and hopefully they'll help you too. So like the video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell so you'll know when we put out more videos like this. The first thing we're going to talk about, or the first few things, have to do with freeing up your mind as you go into retirement or once you're retired. And the first part of that is something that none of us really want to think about, but it's getting all your affairs in order. And that starts with getting a power of attorney, getting your will or your trust in order, and getting all that on paper so that gets out of your mind.
Right. That was one of the first things that we did after we got married 5 years ago, is met with an attorney and got all of those things taken care of. And that was very freeing, actually, just to know that that is done and taken care of, and we don't need to worry about it.
Right. And we're not saying you need to have an attorney. There's plenty of resources out there online where you can download the forms that you need to be able to do it yourself. We're just more comfortable with somebody else doing it. And the attorneys, a lot of them will have a package that you can pay, X amount, and they'll do all those things for you. The power of attorney, the trust, living will,
healthcare,
all the things that you can get done. They'll know it, and they'll be, you'll know the cost going in.
Right. Another part to freeing your mind is to make sure that you get social, preparing in advance for that time after you retire, where you have more time and more freedom. There's a study out there that talks about over 40 million people over the age of 60 are going to experience at least one major depressive event in that season of their life. So I think it's super important that you are social and you are taking steps to engaging with others.
Yeah, that serious depressive event is often related to loneliness.
Yeah.
And not being prepared for the extra time you're going to have on your hands, particularly if you're going into retirement and you don't have a partner.
Yeah.
So again, we've said this in other videos, it's really important to get some activities lined up, whether that's, playing golf or playing tennis or pickleball or cards or something else, just where you're interacting with other people.
Right.
And this might also be where you have another little part-time job.
Right.
Yeah. It might not be because you need the money, or maybe it is, but it might just be a way to stay social, just to avoid the kind of depression associated with all this extra time on your hands and not much to do with it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with just kind of personalities. Rich and I are very different in that way. I do like the socialization, so I do like to be around people. And not that Rich doesn't like people, he does, but he's also content to just kind of be on his own and doing his own thing. So we definitely, I have thought about that. We've talked about that. I very well may have some type of a little part-time job that I do just so I can be out and about with people.
And another area in this particular point is, remember, you might not be able to count on the friends that you have now, because they might not be retiring when you retire, or maybe they're already retired, and then you're jumping right in with what they're doing. But that's why it's important to have extra people or extra social activities that you're planning so that you can stay out of that loneliness rut.
For sure.
And the next part of freeing your mind is, think about starting to purge your stuff.
Oh, I like this one. I like this a lot.
Yeah, I'm not very good at this. I have some things that I've kept around for years and years. I know I haven't used them. It might be a tool, or it might be a lot of things, actually. Whether it could be clothes, whatever it is, but I've kept them. And they take up space. A lot of these things require maintenance. And you know what? They're taking up space in here too.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely want to hold Rich to this. So probably day one after he retires, I'm going to put him on a mission to completely just purge all of his desk, around his desk, his closets, all of those things. It'll be great.
And I'm sure you have stuff that you think, oh, my kids are going to want this, or
They don't want it.
they probably don't want it, right? You need to at least have the conversation and be ready to say, hey, I'm thinking about getting rid of this item. Do you want it? And when they say no, don't be hurt by that.
Yeah.
Right? Their lives are different. Today's world is different than it was when we were growing up, or even than we believe it is now. It's different for them. And maybe what we consider a piece of memorabilia is just something they know or they're going to put on the top shelf of a closet and never look at again.
Exactly.
Point 4 is one that we've talked about in other videos too, and that is get yourself in shape, exercise, and keep doing it. I've interviewed some folks on the channel that are already retired, and all of them talk about how going to the gym and staying in shape is such a big part of their happy retirement. So, what I do right now, I'm walking a whole bunch. I'm trying to watch what I eat as much as I can, just in hopes that my health will stay with me so that I can enjoy my retirement.
I would say that in the 5 years that we have been married, that is something that we have made as a priority, to continue just doing that exercise routine, whatever that may be. Like Rich said, he does lots of walking, tries to get in over 10,000 steps in a day. I try and do the same thing. I also focus a little bit more on strength training.
Which is something I need to do too. I recognize it, and I need to get after that more than just thinking I've always hated strength training, but I need to get after it a little bit more.
Yes, but for sure, we've made it part of our routine now. So I think when we retire, it'll be pretty easy to continue that routine in that season of our life. I think another thing that is super important at this stage of our life is mastering our phone. Now that sounds kind of weird, but basically what I mean by that is understanding how to use your phone. Knowing how to connect. It's a form of communication with all of those out there that you know and love. And I think sometimes it's not uncommon for our age to be intimidated by it and not understand all the capabilities of it.
I mean, we grew up with a phone on the wall, right? Or maybe a cordless phone in your house or whatever, but it was just used for that one thing. You picked up the phone and you called somebody to make arrangements for something.
Right.
And now there's, at least 5 ways to communicate on your phone, whether that's text messaging or video calls and phone calls and other kinds of emails, all kinds of things you can do with your phone. And some of us, early Gen Xers, even some that are younger than us, but especially those that are maybe a little bit older than us, they're really intimidated by their phone. And there's no need to be. Plus, if you can master it, it just frees up a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah. And everything's at your fingertips too. Like there's times, Rich is very techie, so all of this stuff comes very easy for him. Me, not so much. But one of the things he always says to me is, hey, you got the world's biggest encyclopedia right at your fingertips. Look it up. So it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I can look up, how do I do a Zoom call? How do I do a FaceTime call? Any of those things that I'm unsure of, all of that information is out there. I just need to find it.
And if you're intimidated by just using your phone to do that stuff, there are books out there, the old-fashioned kind with pages and stuff and pictures and illustrations for us, right? Where you can go out there and figure out how to use your phone more effectively. Yeah, it's some investment, right? And I've
Takes
heard
some effort.
Right, and I've heard this from our generation, like, I don't want to do that. But it'll make your life easier. Yeah. So again, there's books. If you have an iPhone, the Apple Store offers free classes on how to best use your phone.
Right.
And it's not just a way to communicate or a way to find information now. It's a way to connect with people.
For sure. Yeah. And definitely we use it to stay in touch with our family, with friends, to see the grandkids, all of those things. And it definitely helps make, I think, both of us feel closer to all of them. When we don't get to physically see them for a certain length of time, at least we can connect with them as frequently as we want, just with our phone.
And that's not to mention, we talked about, being social earlier. There's apps that you can put on your phone that'll help you with that. I mean, there's an app, I think it's called Meetup. Yeah, the Meetup app, where you can put in there that I'm looking for a pickleball game, and they'll have other people that are looking to go play pickleball, or the activities that are scheduled out there, or I want to go hiking. Does anybody want to go hiking? And I mean, it sounds kind of oh, I'm going to meet a bunch of strangers.
Mhm.
But it's not designed to be that way. You can say, I want to meet a group of 10 people, 10 of us, let's go hiking, something like that.
Mhm.
But there's just different ways to interact with people through different sorts of apps.
Mhm.
But you won't know how to do that if you let your phone intimidate you. You be the master of your phone.
There you go.
All right, our last 4 tips are going to kind of revolve around managing your money well. The one thing we hear about is that the quickest way to get unhappy in retirement is to be constantly worried about your money.
Right.
And the way to be happy is to just manage it well. One of the things that I know that I'm going to have trouble with is I've been fortunate at this stage of my life. When something comes up and I need to have it done, I usually get a recommendation from a friend.
Right.
Who should I use for landscaping, for example? And I'll call that person and I get it done. So to manage my money a little better, I'm going to start getting quotes for stuff, whether that's 3 or more quotes. Like, let's compare what people are charging so that I'm not just jumping at the first opportunity. Yeah, it's going to help me save money, hopefully, but it's also going to get in my mind, wow, all these guys are getting $4,000 for this job I want to do.
Right.
Here I am retired. Maybe I can save a few $1,000s by actually putting some interest in it myself. Right. And going out and doing it myself.
For sure. Yeah. I think another part of that too, for me, I am a planner. And I like to see things, like if I see it on paper and can look at it and absorb it, it makes me feel more comfortable. So a big part of this for me, to be happy in retirement, is to have a plan laid out that we are hopefully going to follow, and just use that as our guideline and stick to it as best we can.
And even if it's planning ahead a long time,
right?
Like, in retirement, everybody talks about, I'm going to travel.
Right.
Well, travel costs significant money, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you're not going to be able to take some unexpected trips here and there, but if you're planning a big vacation and that thing's going to cost, $5,000 or $10,000, why not say, I'm going to do that next year?
Right.
And put it on your calendar and then start planning for that expense for next year. Right. So again, if you're planning it out, then it's less stress on you and less likely to make you worry about, oh, how am I going to afford that thing that I want to do or thing that I want to buy?
Mm-hmm.
So another habit that some people need to break as they enter retirement is just paying for stuff. And I'm not talking about just stuff. I guess it's more like when you're socializing or you're going out to eat with people, or you're thinking about buying something as a group. The tendency, and it has been for me, because I've had some success in life, right? The tendency has been, I'll just get that. Like, there's a time when the bill comes and everybody looks around and tries to figure.
Awkward silence.
Yeah, you have to. I think one of the things, it's going to be hard. Hopefully I'll be able to kind of sit in that uncomfortable silence for a little bit and give somebody else the chance to either step up or just be ready to say, I've got ours.
Yeah.
Right. So that it puts them on the spot to know that they've got theirs. Now, I've always been one, and I've said this to Robbie many times, we buy stuff when we're with our kids and we go out to eat. We tend to be the ones that buy that. But, on occasion, the kids will want to pay. Mm-hmm. And I'm a big believer that it's almost a rite of passage. Like, you let them pay, right? Because that helps them to feel good about themselves and feel that they're successful and that mom and dad aren't taking care of them all the time.
Right.
But also, as we enter retirement, I think it puts the message out there a little bit that, our funds are not unlimited.
Right.
We're not bringing in any more.
Yeah. And it might actually be a conversation that we might have to actually sit down and have, like, with our children or our family or friends, and just talk about it, because there is definitely a change to the financial plan that you have. That's going to be different in retirement than when there's a constant, steady income coming in.
Right. And if your kids, no matter how old they are, if they're used to going on vacation with mom and dad because mom and dad pick up the bill all the time, I mean, they need a wake-up call. And that's just kind of the middle class way, I guess, I would think. So it's not me throwing stones at anybody, but there just comes a time where that, you're not bringing in the income you were, and they need to recognize it too.
In retirement, you're on a fixed budget, right? That's what it is. So I think that it's kind of hand in hand with that too. The last little point is just basically we have been blessed with the fact that pretty much if there's something that we want, we buy it as long as it's within reason. We talk about it, but we buy it. I do think that with retirement, when there is something that we want, we really have to have good discussion with each other about, okay, is this something that we need? Do we really need to have this?
Should we buy this
Should we buy this? Probably most of the time we won't need to do that. We won't end up buying it. But I do think that is just a different approach that we have to take as we move into this stage of our life.
Yeah, you have to get your mind around the idea that, again, it's easy to say we're on a fixed income, but you have to get your brain to start believing,
yeah,
oh, heck, our funds are not unlimited.
That's right.
All right, those are the things we think you need to do to start preparing for a happy retirement or to change if you're already in retirement and you're trying to get better, right? Mm-hmm. We did a video a little while ago on some things you should stop doing when you're in this stage of life. You can find that here. Thanks for watching us, and God bless.